On August 12, 2025, Beijing stunned the world by slapping a 125% tariff on all U.S. electric vehicles. The move, a direct response to President Trump's threats, sent shockwaves through Washington and the American heartland. President Trump immediately condemned the tariff as economic warfare, vowing a response that would shake global markets. For American automakers like Tesla, Ford, and GM, China was their biggest growth market, now suddenly out of reach. Billions in investments and years of market building vanished overnight as auto stocks plunged and panic spread. China's message was clear: this was more than a trade dispute, it was a strategic strike at the heart of American innovation. The tariff threatened not just corporate profits, but jobs and communities across Michigan, Ohio, and California. The stage was set for a high-stakes confrontation with global consequences. A 125% tariff isn't just a bargaining chip, it's a wall, a bold declaration that redraws the boundaries of global commerce. This isn't a subtle move or a quiet warning, it's a signal flare, visible to every player in the international auto industry, that the rules of the game have changed overnight. Take a $50,000 American EV, suddenly, with the new tariff, it now costs over $112,000 in China. That's not just a price hike, it's a total transformation of who can even dream of owning one. Overnight, American electric cars become luxury items, reserved for only the ultra-wealthy elite, while ordinary Chinese consumers are shut out. The intent is unmistakable: erase American EVs from the Chinese market entirely. Dealerships close, showrooms empty, and the American presence in China's booming EV sector vanishes almost instantly. For Tesla and other U.S. automakers, years of investment, marketing, and relationship building are wiped out in a single stroke. The connection to 1.4 billion Chinese consumers, once a beacon of opportunity, is abruptly and decisively severed. The impact doesn't stop at the border, it ripples through the entire U.S. supply chain, from battery makers and parts suppliers to software engineers and logistics companies. Jobs, innovation, and future growth are all suddenly at risk. Meanwhile, China's move doesn't just block U.S. competition, it hands homegrown giants like BYD and NIO a protected playground. With less foreign competition, these companies can dominate the domestic market, rake in profits, and invest heavily in research, development, and expansion. As American brands are locked out, Chinese firms consolidate their power at home and set their sights on new frontiers: Europe, Southeast Asia, and beyond. The world becomes their marketplace, and their ambitions only grow. This tariff is more than a trade policy, it's a calculated blow to U.S. ambition and a launchpad for China's global EV dominance. It's a strategic move in a high-stakes game of economic chess. At its core, this isn't just about trade or tariffs, it's about who will lead the future of transportation, who will set the standards, and who will shape the next era of mobility for the world. The fallout is immediate, the consequences are global, and the stakes for both countries and the entire industry couldn't be higher. The EV tariff is the latest flashpoint in a U.S.-China rivalry that's been building since 2018. Trump's first term saw sweeping tariffs and tit-for-tat retaliation, with both sides targeting key industries. The 2020 Phase 1 deal was a fragile truce, never resolving the core issues of technology and economic power. Tensions only escalated, with the U.S. blacklisting Chinese tech firms and China racing for self-sufficiency. Biden's administration kept up the pressure, and Trump's return brought even harsher threats, culminating in China's dramatic tariff. Both nations see themselves as victims, each blaming the other for unfair practices and protectionism. The 125% tariff is not just a reaction, it's the product of years of distrust and economic brinkmanship. Now both sides are locked in a cycle of escalation with no easy exit. The pain from China's tariff hits hardest on American factory floors. Thousands of workers in Michigan, Ohio, and California face layoffs as automakers slash production and cancel shifts. The shockwaves ripple through suppliers, threatening small businesses and entire communities built around the auto industry. For many, these jobs are more than paychecks. They're a source of pride and stability. The promise of new, secure EV jobs is suddenly in jeopardy, replaced by anxiety and economic insecurity. Ironically, the very workers' tariffs were meant to protect now find themselves at risk. It's a harsh lesson in how global trade wars can devastate local lives. China's tariff is more than protectionism. It's a strategic masterstroke, carefully designed to reshape the global auto industry and shift the balance of economic power. This isn't just about keeping foreign cars out, it's about rewriting the rules of competition on China's terms and sending a message to the world that Beijing is ready to lead. By walling off its market, Beijing shields domestic EV giants from US competition, letting them grow stronger and more profitable. Chinese automakers can now innovate, scale up, and refine their technology without the immediate threat of American rivals. This protected environment gives them the breathing room to experiment, improve, and ultimately dominate not just at home but on the world stage. The move is also a pointed response to US trade aggression, signaling that China won't back down. Instead, it's willing to escalate, using its vast market as leverage in a high-stakes economic standoff. Every tariff, every restriction is a calculated countermove in a global chess match. Domestically, it projects strength and defiance, rallying national pride. The government's stance is celebrated as a bold defense of Chinese industry, inspiring confidence among citizens and businesses alike. It's a narrative of resilience and ambition, fueling a sense of unity in the face of foreign pressure. But the real ambition is global. While the US and China close off to each other, Chinese automakers are poised to conquer Europe, Southeast Asia, and beyond. With their home market secure, they can focus on exporting advanced, affordable EVs, targeting regions hungry for innovation and new choices. This is China's bid to become the world's automotive powerhouse. The tariff also tempts European rivals to fill the void left by American brands, potentially fracturing Western unity. As European automakers rush to seize new opportunities in China, old alliances are tested, and the global auto landscape becomes even more fragmented. Beijing's divide-and-conquer strategy is clear: exploit rifts among US allies and negotiate on its own terms. By playing partners against each other, China gains leverage, shaping deals and partnerships that serve its long-term interests. The result? China strengthens its hand at home and abroad, while the West scrambles to respond. Every move is watched by global markets, as investors and governments alike try to anticipate Beijing's next step in this high-stakes contest. The EV war is as much about global power as it is about cars. It's a battle for influence, technology, and the future of mobility, one that will shape the world for decades to come. In Washington, unity quickly gives way to division over how to respond. The halls of power are filled with urgent debate, as lawmakers and advisors weigh the consequences of every possible move. The stakes are high, and the pressure is mounting with each passing day. One camp, led by President Trump, demands massive escalation, blanket tariffs on all Chinese goods, no matter the cost. Supporters argue that only a bold, uncompromising stance will force China to change its ways and protect American jobs. They see this as a moment to reassert US strength on the world stage, even if it means short-term pain. The political appeal is obvious, but the economic risks are enormous. A full-blown trade war could disrupt supply chains, spike inflation, and trigger recession. American consumers could face higher prices on everyday goods, while businesses struggle to adapt to sudden changes. The ripple effects could be felt across the globe, impacting markets and livelihoods far beyond US borders. Others urge restraint, pushing for a multilateral approach with allies and the WTO. They argue that working together with international partners could yield more sustainable results and avoid the chaos of unilateral action. This strategy relies on diplomacy, negotiation, and building consensus among nations with sometimes competing interests. This path is slower, less dramatic, and depends on cooperation from partners with their own interests. Progress can be painstaking, and results are never guaranteed. Yet advocates believe it's the only way to achieve lasting change without risking economic catastrophe. Every option is fraught: escalate and risk economic disaster, or de-escalate and risk looking weak. The fear of making the wrong choice looms large, as leaders grapple with the possibility of unintended consequences that could spiral out of control. The White House faces a no-win scenario, with American workers and businesses caught in the crossfire. Factory floors grow quiet, small business owners worry about their future, and families across the country brace for uncertainty. The human cost of these decisions is impossible to ignore. The stakes are nothing less than the future of the US economy and its global standing. Every decision reverberates through financial markets, shaping how America is seen by its allies and rivals alike. The world is watching, and the outcome will set the tone for years to come. The next move could define a generation. The choices made now will echo into the future, shaping the lives of millions and determining America's place in a rapidly changing world. The US-China EV war puts Europe in a bind. German automakers see a golden opportunity in China, but joining in could fracture the Western alliance. European leaders must choose stand with the US against China, or chase profits and risk splitting the West. Meanwhile, the World Trade Organization looks powerless, its dispute system paralyzed, its authority fading. With the rules-based order crumbling, nations turn to unilateral action and economic muscle. The danger: a world split into rival blocs with supply chains and technology standards diverging. Decades of global integration are at risk, replaced by costly, inefficient economic fragmentation. The EV war could be the tipping point toward a new economic Cold War. America now faces a crossroads: decline or renewal. The pessimistic path, a spiraling trade war, global recession, and a stagnant EV industry left behind by Chinese rivals. Innovation slows, investment dries up, and US influence wanes as China surges ahead. But crisis can also be a catalyst. Locked out of China, US automakers could double down on innovation, pushing breakthroughs in batteries, manufacturing, and software. The shock could force a strategic pivot, diversifying exports, building new partnerships in India, Southeast Asia, and beyond. The tariff is a painful wake-up call, but also a chance to build a more resilient, competitive future. America's response now will shape not just its auto industry, but the global economy for decades. The choice: escalate and risk decline, or adapt and spark a new era of renewal. The world is watching,